for putting on for a moment a philosopher's hat. If we imagined ourselves as a kaleidoscope, recognizing that a kaleidoscope has many, many parts, but because of the nature of life and changing realities, it's very elusive for us to see and feel wholeness. And if we imagined ourselves as a hologram, we know that we're the sum of many parts and that the whole is contained in each of those parts. But we find ourselves moving between being a part and then perhaps experiencing the whole. But if we take all of those parts and we make them into threads and weave them together, we create perhaps a rug, a tapestry, a mural. But that rug, tapestry or mural is whole. All the threads woven together can no longer be separated. If it's a prayer rug, we can still kneel on it, but we're kneeling on wholeness. If it's a tapestry and we put it on the wall, when we look at it, we're still seeing a whole. If it's a mural, that takes us into a different realm, but still of wholeness. So, as has been happening over these last weeks, with the stories, some that have been told before, we're weaving, creating with the possibility that each of us in our own way can claim our uniqueness, because every rug and tapestry and mural is different, special and unique, but always whole, so that we can live our life feeling this. No longer a kaleidoscope constantly changing and moving as life moves, nor a hologram where we're moving back and forth from one moment feeling a part and the next moment feeling the interrelatedness. So there's another story told before, but we know very well the place of symbols in our life. And books are very prominent symbols. But if we look at books and we take them at face value as a symbol, it is thought that our first connection would be that books are related to knowledge. But there's many, many stories about books, differing in many ways. But if we look beyond what that book is, to our mind's eye, a symbol of knowledge, and we go back to seeing it in its true symbolic form, perhaps we get a gleaning of what this old story means for us as we make it into a thread of our weaving. And it's the story about that king who was about to leave his body and he was handing his kingdom over to his son. And while the son was standing beside his father's deathbed, the old dying king said, "I am passing on to you the heritage of my kingdom. It is well, it is prosperous, it flourishes." But taking out from his robe, which was really his shroud, he took a parcel wrapped in green silk with a golden thread binding it together, and he handed it to his son, and he said, "Although you are inheriting my kingdom, this by far is the greatest gift I give to you. It is a book. Read it when you will." The king passed away, and his son took on the very occupying task of running the kingdom. And of course, after his father's death, there was much ceremony, his throning, the crown being put on his head, and so forth. So there was great festivity for many, many days. But then duty was what occupied his days. He took the parcel wrapped in silk and placed it in a drawer and forgot about it, the earthly duties calling upon him, the running of a kingdom, taking care that everyone was cared for. There was food in the coffers, and all would be well with his people. But time went on, and one day he came to that drawer and opened it and saw there the book wrapped in its silken covers with its golden thread. And he took out that parcel and unwrapped it from its enfoldment. He opened it up, and as soon as he did, he was absorbed. His queen came to him to show her her new jewelry, and he sent her away. "Leave me, I'm going to read." And then his advisors came, saying that there were people there wanting his attention. He said, "Do not disturb me, I am going to read." And he absorbed himself in that book. As he closed the book, he very carefully wrapped it back in its green silken cover, tied it again with a golden thread. He went to his queen and he said, "I am leaving. I leave you in the care of my kingdom until our son is old enough to take over." And then he dressed himself in the garments of a simple man, and carrying the parcel, he left the palace, never to return. Many, many years passed, and one day an old man, dressed in a patchwork robe came into the town where the palace stood. He went to a coffee shop and he sat down to sip coffee. But in an exchange with the owner of the coffee shop, he said, "Tell me about your king. What is he like?" And the coffee shop owner said, "He is a very fine being. He takes care of his people. He takes care of us very, very well. He is fair in his judgments." So the old man took out from his patchwork robe the parcel wrapped in green silk and tied with a golden thread. And he handed it to the coffee shop owner, and he said, "Please undertake a task for me. Take this to your king and tell him it is from your father and his father before him and his father before him, down through the ages. This is my gift for him. Tell him to read it when he will." And the old man disappeared, never to be seen again. A book. Books. What for you have books been in your life? What have they represented? Yes, we know the accumulation of knowledge. But what else? Have we realized that books have been for us? And as we make them into a thread and continue with our weaving, perhaps we can see the importance of what books are as a symbol, as an aspect of our self, and what this story means for us when we look at the deep meaning of what this symbol is.